Here I am, climbing up, feeling great, getting love. Here I go, risk it all, be worth it now, and that's for sure. Watch me as a Rocketeer.
Alright, welcome everyone to Fight Talk Down Under, episode 10. That's right, we're into the double digits, so it's a big milestone for us, and it's taken me 10 episodes, but for those watching in video form, I've finally made my bed for the first time. So I have copped a bit of feedback on that over the previous 9 episodes, but it is good to go today. So thanks to my beautiful wife, I can't claim the credit for that. But yeah, it's all done. But in even bigger news than that, we did announce this here on Fight Talk Down Under, but now the cat is properly out of the bag. My co-host Lockjaw Justin Van Heerden has an official fight out there with Alan Philpott on May 7th. So how are you feeling?
Yeah. So it's official now, I guess we can say. So it's been released now by Eternal. So it's out there. Fight's on May 7th, Gold Coast, Eternal 65. It's my 8th time fighting for Eternal, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, so I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Like I've said time and time again, I'll believe I'm fighting Alan Philpott when I'm standing across from him in the cage and the ref's like, are you ready? Are you ready? But yeah, we'll see if the Tin Man makes it, and if he does, we're going to put on a show, no doubt.
Absolutely, yeah, looking forward to it. But I guess we've got a little bit of news to cover on the local scene, and look, it's I guess we've got to get the bad news out of the way. There's a few bad news stories to follow on from all of that. So I guess we'll start off while we're talking about Eternal. Eternal just announced yesterday that Eternal 65 down here in Melbourne has been cancelled. So we believe the reason is due to some injuries and COVID disruptions to some of the fighters on the card. I think they the number we heard was that they lost five fighters from the card just over the weekend. So it sounds like Jack Becker might have COVID, and we're told that Kevin Jusset has a shoulder injury. So those are a couple of big names off the card, and Eternal's decided that they want to run the highest quality cards that they can, and I think they feel like it would have been pretty difficult for them to pull something together on a couple of weeks' notice there. So unfortunately, they've cancelled the whole event. So what have you heard, and what do you make of all that?
Yeah, so that's obviously that's pretty shit. 2 weeks out, you have a whole event cancelled. Yeah, obviously want to wish those boys all the best with their sort of recoveries for their various sort of hurdles that they've hit. I was really looking forward to that fight with Kevin. I really want to see him back in there. I really like watching that kind of fight. So I was pretty shit to hear that he's had himself a gnarly injury. Also love watching Jack Becker fight. It's always entertaining. So, some of those fights got scrapped and sort of fell apart completely. So, yeah, they've made the decision to cancel it and move on, which is kind of all you can do, I guess, at this point. But in talking to Cam, like I said to him, I think it's going to be a minor hiccup in an otherwise successful year. So, it's kind of just got to roll with it, and then just do a cracking, massive show in the Gold Coast, and then, kind of rebound from there. But I'm sure they'll be back in Melbourne sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. It is disappointing for us fans down here in Melbourne. We've been waiting for a little while for Eternal to come back down. So, we were so close this time around. It's been cancelled, a couple of times recently. So, but unfortunately we've come up short this time. But it looks like they're already rebooking some of the fighters from the card. I just saw just before we jumped on here that Roy Armistead and Marfan have been moved to I think it might have been to the Gold Coast event. So, hopefully some of the other guys will get rebooked.
Yeah, hopefully. That's all we can hope for. Just fingers crossed.
Absolutely. Well, so following on the bad news front, Jai Opetaia, who's scheduled to face Maris Breidis for the boxing world title shortly, has had his fight postponed due to injury as well. So, it's all happening at the moment. The fight was booked for May 11th, but Opetaia has suffered an injury and apparently needs a minor operation. So, it's the second time this one's been postponed. It was originally scheduled for April 6th, but Maris Breidis contracted COVID in March and couldn't make it to the fight. So, from what I've read, it looks like the fight's going to remain at the Gold Coast Convention Centre, but they're still just searching for a new date. So, tough break for Jai Opetaia this time again.
Yeah, so another stitch up. It seems to be, I don't know, it seems to be a more frequent thing now that just like it just, I don't know if it's just all just dumb luck, but it seems, since COVID rocked around, it seems injury rates and COVID rates and everything's just gone through the roof. Obviously people are catching COVID, but even just injuries, people just getting injured. I swear it seems like it's more than it was pre-COVID, but, it is what it is. It's a part of the game. It's always going to be a part of the game.
Yeah, look, combat sports is a cruel mistress for fans. Like you get promised all these incredible fights, and you just never quite know if they're going to go ahead. Like injuries are just a part of the game, and there's just it's a byproduct of the type of training that you guys do in the gym there, and COVID has just made it that much worse. It's just a nightmare being a fight fan. You just can't truly look forward to something. Just like you say, until the referee says, "Are you ready?" and "Are you ready?" then you can never really fully look forward to it.
Yeah, 100%. You can't get your hopes up anymore.
Absolutely. Well, I guess these bad things come in threes, they say. So we got some in more bad news from the weekend. Aaron Blackie, he made his appearance on the PFL Challenger Series against Ali Zebian. And unfortunately, he's come up short. Now, this one's sort of obviously, there's been some issues leading into this one with the opponent missing weight by 4 pounds, which is crazy. But I guess from Aaron Blackie's perspective, he's been off for 3 years. He's travelled all the way over there to compete on PFL. It was he had visa issues ahead of the first booking, and so really. It would have been hard for him to turn it down, despite his opponent missing weight. But he's lost the fight on points. But did you get a chance to watch it? What did you make of Aaron Blackie's performance?
Yeah, obviously, we got to take into account the guy missed weight, but yeah, it was a good fight. It was a competitive fight. I did see Blackie put up a post about the fight, and in his eyes, he thought that he clean and clearly won the fight. I believe he said in his post that he broke the guy's jaw and the guy had to get surgery. If that's the case and that guy had a broken jaw, then fucking props to him for staying in there for the full fight then, because I can't imagine that would have been fun. But yeah, there was a lot of sort of seesaw movements in the fight. There was a lot of grappling exchanges. Mostly they were dominated by Blackie, but old mate had his own success as well. I don't think it was like an outright robbery. But in a close fight, I think, you've got to lean towards the little things that were more successful, the octagon control, the aggression, that sort of stuff like that. And also, you got to take into account the guy he didn't make weight, like he didn't do the right thing. I'm not saying I want the judges to sit there and penalize someone harshly right off the bat that missed weight, but why? Like they say that he missed by 4 pounds, but then they listed it as a catch weight after that, so they weren't really forthcoming with it and that information at all. And who knows if it was really 4 pounds? That's what they said, but was it 4 pounds? Because that guy looked fucking gigantic when he got in there on fight day. So, I think at this point, you're coming out there, it's a PFL thing, there's a contract on the line, there's big stakes involved. Should have taken a point right off the bat, should have taken a point in that sort of scenario. I believe if there's something at stake, like if you're fighting in the PFL final for $1 million and the opponent doesn't make weight, they got to take a point. Fuck the money that you get from the bloke. You're fighting for $1 million. If you're fighting for a world title and the person doesn't make weight, take a point. Doesn't matter if they can't win the belt. Take a point. Them not making weight could be a detriment to you winning the belt or finding success, because it could just play a factor. It won't always play a factor, but it could. So you got to be harsh with shit like that, If that's sort of the outcome that you're going to take, then you've got to do that. I've had north of 20 or about 20 odd MMA fights. I've missed weight once where I missed weight and the fight still went ahead. And I was adamant that they should take a point. I didn't do my job properly. I didn't show up and make the weight. Doesn't matter if I missed it by 100 grams, 200 grams, whatever. You got to take a point. That's just them's the rules. Take a point and lose half your purse. That's how I think it should be handled. So I think Aaron Blackie got pretty unlucky in that scenario. Hopefully they give him another crack in the PFL. I think he deserves it. I'm trying to earn a contract or maybe just straight fight in the PFL. Who knows? But yeah, he seems to have shaken it off quite well and says that he's back now and he's going to compete after 3 years away. So whether that's in the PFL, somewhere else internationally, or just straight locally, who knows? But I'm keen to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I did a bit of digging on the opponent there, Ali Zubian, and, you know, he normally fights at lightweight. And like you say, just looking at him in the cage, like, I don't think he was ever going to make featherweight. Like, I don't know how he expected to actually fight at featherweight. So we don't really know what's happened in the background there. It kind of seems a bit of a strange one, but... You know, like you say, PFL, they're a real sort of sporting organisation. They're big on leagues and points and things like that. So, you know, maybe it would make sense for them to sort of penalise someone in a sporting way for missing weight. But, you know, I guess it's all a bit of a moot point in the end. Like Zubiani, he's missed out on the contract and rightfully so because he missed weight. But, you know, when the fight goes to decision like that, you know, in the Challenger Series, they only award one contract per event, so really if it's going to points, then you know, there's a good chance you're not going to get the contract. But I do hope that they give Aaron Blackie another shot, because he's had a tough go there. He's had this guy miss weight. In my opinion, he came up on the you know, he should have won the decision. I don't know if you know, I've just got my Aussie goggles on there, but you know, I feel like you know, damage is the overarching sort of criteria for scoring an MMA fight, right? And I just felt like Aaron Blackie just had the better moments like that in terms of landing and sort of you know, landing effective shots and doing damage. So, you know, I thought he was a bit stiff there, and hopefully he gets another go, because he must have a bitter taste in his mouth. Like I think in social media he's been pretty respectful about the whole thing, but you know, he's finally got this opportunity that he's been waiting for, and then for it to go down like that, where he really just has to take the fight, and you know, sort of. Yeah, a close decision not going his way like that. It's it's got to be a bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah, well, if you have a fight, any fight, and if it is one of those fights that's like close in some ways, and you could see like one guy having an edge based on, you know, a few criteria here and there, or whatever the case is, losing a decision that you thought you would have won, just to put it into perspective for people that don't fight or are a bit confused on what that might feel like. If you like lose a decision that you were like confident, you're like, I won that fight. I firmly, like genuinely deep within my soul believe I won that fight. It's like, I don't know, like picture the first car you ever got, you know, whether you know, however that came to fruition, the first time you jumped in that car by yourself and drove it. Now imagine as that happened, 5 minutes into driving it, you hit a tree and the whole car was just written off. That's what it feels like when you lose a decision. Like, you've built it up, you've done all this preparation for it, you've hyped up this moment so much, you've gotten in there, it's everything you thought it would be, you've put it all on the line, you've done everything you could possibly do, you've gotten after it, and it's taken away from you just like instantly. So, yeah, there's no, like, you know, even if he did come out on social media and absolutely spray the dude, like, he'd be all within his right to. I mean, fuck that guy. Like, I'll say it for him, you're a fucking grom.
Yeah, absolutely. Just, yeah, like I said, I don't know. I don't really know how he expected to make weight, or whether he was just hoping to put himself in the shop window regardless of making weight or not. But it seems a strange one for someone to step down a weight class for, you know, a big opportunity like that, when they normally fight, you know, at lightweight, to then step down to featherweight, you know, for a big fight like that and take that sort of risk. It seemed a strange one to me. So, yeah.
And you snatched an opportunity away from someone else potentially in your country, like an actual featherweight who deserved a shot. Yeah. Someone who potentially might have got in there and absolutely ran through Aaron. We don't know, you know. Or maybe this other guy would have got in there and Aaron would have just smoked him in the first round. We don't know.
Yeah,
but
got a contract.
Yeah, you've gotten a contract. You've taken it off the table.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, it's a rough one, but yeah, hopefully Aaron Blackie finds another opportunity. If it's not with PFL, then with another you know, big organisation, because yeah, I think he deserves another crack for sure.
100%.
Now, well, you know, the main reason that we're here is you know, for UFC 273. We've got a fair bit to cover off. We'll probably cover off the three main fights. I think there's a fair bit to unpack there. It was a pretty incredible card in the end. So we'll start off with like Hamzat Chimaev, who's defeated Gilbert Burns by unanimous decision. Like that turned out to be a bit of a classic in the end. I know we were sort of predicting that Hamzat might run through Gilbert, but Gilbert just showed just what a warrior he is, and he kind of survived a knockdown, managed to knock down Hamzat as well. So. It was definitely a fun one to watch, and I feel like we got to see Hamzat tested finally. I guess like we've talked about before, the question mark with undefeated fighters is always, how do they deal with adversity? We don't know, and he got served up plenty of adversity with Gilbert Burns. It was definitely a step up in class, and he's gone his longest fight up to this point was 1 minute and 15 seconds into round 2. So he's gone the distance. Cardio's held up pretty well. The chin held up fantastically well over against an onslaught from Gilbert Burns. So it was a fun one to watch. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it was a crazy fight. I really enjoyed watching that. Like on the day, it was a cracking fight. Obviously, there's a lot to take out of it. I do find it very interesting that when Hamzat did take him down, he sort of almost immediately bailed on that. When Gilbert started like sort of throwing some stuff up from the bottom, and kind of he was using a bit of jiu-jitsu, and Hamzat was like, I'm out, I'm not dealing with that. He himself said afterwards he got a bit set on just getting the knockout and just wanting to knock him out and just throwing big shots. But I could see that a little bit, but it was a cracking fight. I thought Gilbert won 2 and 3. I watched it on the day, and even on the day, I was a bit sort of up in the air about it. I was kind of like, man, like, I don't know. I don't think it should have been unanimous. It should have been a split decision to either guy, but I think Gilbert won. Especially then I rewatched it the next day and, did my usual thing where I meet the commentary and just kind of watch the fight and take it in for what it is. And, yeah, I feel like Gilbert won the fight. I think he won rounds 2 and 3. I do get, Hamzat was walking forward the whole time. And, normally if someone's like, walking someone down constantly and that, like in round 1, you got to give that to Hamzat. Like he walked him down, dropped him, took him down. It was just a problem for him. But in 2 and 3, although he was walking him down, he was getting cracked. Like he got dropped himself. He was getting stung. He got his bell rung a few times by Gilbert. And also, he was landing some hard shots himself, but in the third round, especially the hard shots that Hamzat was sort of throwing and the uppercuts, the hooks, the stuff that he was sort of really digging into, it was landed on arms. It was sort of skimming off. It was glancing sort of impact. Whereas when Gilbert was landing, it was like flush. Like he was cracking him. So if we're talking about damage, and I know both guys had like some cuts in that. Gilbert obviously got split fairly early on the top of his head. But yeah. It was a good fight. It was a great fight to watch. It was very entertaining. I was very hyped up by the fight. The atmosphere was dope. We're obviously watching it at the Volkanovski hotel, so everyone packed in for it there, and everyone got a kick out of that fight. It was crazy. I was jumped out of my chair a few times, and I feel like a couple of people that were there bet Hamzat to win by decision, which at the start of the fight seemed like a ridiculously stupid bet, but proved to be the way to go. So. Those people obviously did well. They're probably stoked afterwards. But yeah, it was a really good fight. Me personally, I would have liked to see 2 more rounds. I think everyone wanted to see 2 more rounds after that third round. We wanted to find out really who's the better man out of the 2. So if they would have rebooked that over 5 rounds, or if Colby just doesn't want to fight Hamzat or wants to go up because I saw he wants to go up and fight Izzy. I don't know what's going to happen. The UFC is so crazy. I don't like him trying to do that. I mean, he doesn't cut a lot of weight for welterweight as it is. I don't know how you're going to go up to middleweight and fight Adesanya, but maybe start with Marvin Vettori or Robert Whittaker and try to work yourself up from there. But so we'll see what happens next with Hamzat. But he's number 3 now. He moved up to number 3 in the rankings. So I do believe that puts Gilbert still ahead of him at number 2. You got Colby at 1. Usman's the champ. Leon would be.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have to look at the rankings. Yeah. Leon's in there somewhere. He's obviously next. I think he's. Yeah, might have shifted around a little bit like that. Maybe it's moved around a bit. But anyway, I wouldn't call this the test that everyone's been waiting for Hamzat, and be like, oh well, look, he got tested and he passed or whatever. Like, I guess you can say that, but not really. I think the test is going to be the Colby Covington, Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman, like one of those sort of specifically Colby Covington. I think he's the test. If Hamzat goes in there and the fights, whether it goes the distance or not, if it's competitive and he's able to like get after it with someone like Colby, okay, then I'll start being like, okay, well, this is the test and he passed it. But if he just gets in there with Colby and just absolutely demolished, then fuck, well, then we're gonna have our answer, aren't we? Then we're gonna know that he didn't pass the test. But if he absolutely gets in there and smokes Colby Covington, then I'm gonna be inclined to be like, all right, well, let's see what he can do against the champ. I still think Kamaru Usman beats everyone on the planet Earth right now, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that all comes together after this. And for Gilbert, man, I just want to see that dude straight back fighting someone who's up in the top. We got to see Gilbert straight back into it. I feel like I do believe that Kamaru Usman's going to hang it up at some point, and I do believe when that happens, Colby Covington is going to end up potentially winning that belt. And then we're going to see Gilbert Burns and people like that start having some of these crazy fights, trying to get after another world title. And I think, Burns has the potential to do it. You can't ever count that dude out. He's super talented. He looks great at welterweight. He's not killing himself trying to make the weight. And, he's one of the best grapplers in MMA, like full stop. He's well-rounded, but he's one of the best grapplers in the sport. So, yeah, we can definitely see some sort of success for him moving forward.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the decision there, actually, because that was going to be my next point. I was going to, I was going to sort of break that down a little bit, because I felt like Gilbert did enough as well. Like when they read the decision, I thought, Gilbert might have been a little bit hard done by as well. I don't know. Maybe I'm a terrible judge, but like you say, I feel like Gilbert was landing in that third round, and I think that should be scored ahead of aggression and octagon control and all that sort of stuff. I felt like he was landing, and I felt like he did enough. So really, I think Gilbert's stock has really only risen through in defeat, I would have thought. Like we all know, like any sort of hardcore fan or any sort of reasonable fan of the UFC knows who Gilbert Burns is, and they know that he's an incredible grappler, and he's an explosive striker as well. But I think he's only really sort of gained more respect and more traction through a fight like this. But for Hamzat's part, I feel like the mystique surrounding him has probably taken a bit of a hit. Like, he's just been running through all of his opponents, and this time we've seen him tested. We've seen him kind of get pushed all the way and potentially even get beaten, even though it didn't say so on the scorecards. But he took damage. He got dropped. These are things that you never really thought that you would see from Hamzat. He was kind of this Terminator that was running through everyone. So yeah, I guess the UFC obviously wants to put him on a fast track. They had him fighting Gilbert Burns when he was ranked number 11. He's now ranked number 3. There's all this talk about the fight with Colby Covington, sort of fast tracking him to a title shot. I've seen some suggestions on social media that maybe Jorge Masvidal might be might be an option for him as well. That's kind of like a fun sort of,
that.
Yeah, I know. It's like a more of a novelty fight. Yeah, exactly. But I think moving up to fight Izzy is also a terrible idea, because if he got lit up by Gilbert Burns, then imagine what would happen if he was to fight Israel Adesanya. I think that's I appreciate the ambition there from Hamzat, but I think that might be a bridge too far at this point. But I don't know. Do you think Colby's the next frontier for him, or do you reckon he needs another sort of test before he gets into those sort of top 2 fighters?
I don't want to see him fight Colby Covington next. I want to see him fight someone else, maybe the winner of Luque and Bilal. Maybe put that together and kind of give him that test. But yeah, I don't want to see him fight Colby Covington next. They're talking about, like you said, Dana was saying about him fighting Colby next and doing it on that ABC thing that they got happening, or whatever they're talking about. But let's call it how it is. He just struggled against Gilbert Burns, who, by the way, if people don't remember, was that close to being world champion, that close to finishing Kamaru Usman and becoming world champion. I know we can and same with Colby Covington. That first fight, if he doesn't get stopped in that first fight, he wins on the scorecards. He's winning. He's winning that fight. People can complain as much as they want. Go watch the fight back. He's winning. He's outstriking him. He's winning the fight. Usman adjusted, did what a champion did, able to pile the damage on and put him away. Second fight, also super close. I've made it clear that I rewatched that fight, and I think Colby won 3, 4, and 5. So, you know, if we're looking at it how it is, it's like Colby and Usman are like up here, and you got Leon Edwards, and then you've got the rest of the division. And to put Hamzat against Colby right now, just straight up right now, I mean, that's going to be rough because I think the dude's killing himself trying to make 170. I mean, I know Dave Hidman and his team have said, like, oh, nah, he can do it easily. He does it easily. He floats between the two, whatever it is. I just don't see it. Like, I feel like he's cutting a shitload of weight, and the dude probably should fight at fucking middleweight and do it in like a healthier sort of way because, yeah, he definitely – I mean, we look at the fight and you say his cardio and everything held up, so we can be like, oh, maybe he isn't. Maybe it's all G, but I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I know you can't compare people, but if you look at his performance against Gerald Meerschaert and then you compare that to his performance with Burns now at welterweight, one punch and he turned that dude to stone and slept him at middleweight. So how much better is he at middleweight? How much better could he be at middleweight? You know? And I feel like that's going to be the question that we're going to be asking if he fights someone like Colby Covington, because I feel like Colby's going to beat the fuck out of him, and then we're going to be like, oh, maybe Hamzat should go to middleweight, and maybe he's going to be, that's the weight class he needs to be in, and maybe he's going to be an absolute monster. But, yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of the stuff's faded away now a little bit. And, yeah, the talk of fighting Adesanya and shit like that, I think that shit needs to quit. Like, that needs to stop. Just like I don't think that I want to see Adesanya move up to light heavyweight again at this point. Let's not talk about that. Like, if anyone can do it and go and have another crack at another weight class and go up and do it, it's someone like Izzy. But I mean, there's got to be some sort of changes made because obviously, if we're watching that, if you're looking at that for what it is, it ain't easy doing that shit, man. You got to be a special individual and you got to tick all the boxes. Otherwise, you're gonna have some fucking problems.
Yeah, exactly. I know you have to appreciate Izzy's chance at grabbing greatness there, being a champ. But it was clear that the size was an issue when he went up there, and he didn't really make much of an effort, I don't think, to sort of blow himself up to be a true light heavyweight there. So I think that if he was to go back up, and hopefully it's not in the immediate future, but if he does go back up, I think he's probably learnt a lesson there that he might have to do it properly next time around.
100%.
But in the co-main event on the weekend, the long-time reigning UFC bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling silenced all the haters, or did he? I don't know. It was a split decision win over Petr Yan. It was an extremely close fight, and the general consensus is that the first round was kind of the difference between the two, and it was a pretty uneventful round, really. So I don't know. What did you think? How did you score it?
I'll have to rewatch that one again, because I haven't rewatched it since on the day. But yeah, the first round there wasn't much that happened. It was a weird round. There wasn't much that happened. And people I've spoken to, they've said that they thought that Yan did enough to win the first round. 2 and 3 for sure. Aljamain, you got to give him to Aljamain, especially round 2. That's a 10-out round in my books. Like, the dude had you back for the whole round, and he was just pounding on you and stuff like that. So
I was actually going to ask you about that, whether you would score that as a 10-8, because I was sitting there thinking to myself, this has got to be close to a 10-8. But yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
So the second round for sure was a 10-8 in my eyes. Round 3, still a win to Aljamain that round, still his round. Not a 10-8 though. Not a 10-8, but still a very dominant round for him, and he had a lot of control again. I mean, I think he shot 22 or 23 or something takedowns, got 2 of them, but when he did get them, he controlled the fuck out of him and was just doing his thing. He's a really good grappler. He comes from a really good gym. And then, we look at rounds 4 and 5. For sure, those rounds are Yan's rounds. So, Yeah, and I think there was a bit of confusion after the fight with Jan because obviously he doesn't speak the best English, and then they asked him like what he thought what rounds he won, and he was like, "Oh, I think I won rounds 1, 2, 4, and 5," and it was like, man, round 2 is like the only round that you definitely didn't win. Like that's as clear cut not your round as anything. But yeah, I'd be pissed off if I was him. I thought, obviously he says a split decision or whatever. I thought Jan did enough to win, especially if you watch rounds 4 and 5. I thought he did enough to win. I've got to rewatch that first round, but yeah, I don't remember anything special that either guy did in the first round. But Joe said something interesting today about, so I'll give the credit to Joe. He said something interesting. There were two things actually. The first thing being that Jan is notorious for taking off the first round. Like the last fight, he said the same thing. Like the first 2 rounds, Jan kind of cruised, and Aljamain won those rounds. You just need to put in a bit of effort in the third round. Now you're 3 rounds up, and the guy's got he's down. He's not going to have a chance to win. You're actually starting down. But they shared a dressing room. So Joe was saying they shared a dressing room with Peter Young's team in that on the night, and they would thought. And Joe said it didn't stuff on the ground. Like they didn't do any back control stuff or anything at the back. Like not even a little bit. So that's pretty weird considering you're fighting a guy who's known for that. Like that's his thing. You've got to go through everything, and sort of have those things in your mind, fresh in your mind when you're about to walk out there, just so they're there. I'll give him credit. Like he survived. He didn't get choked out, but he didn't really do anything special to preserve himself in those 2 rounds. He took a lot of damage and got punched a bit. So yeah, it was a weird fight. It wasn't that clear cut, victory to Aljamain where you're like, okay, he did it, he beat him, he's the best person in the world, blah blah blah. I'm not going to go with that. But end of the day, the judges thought he won. He got the decision. He actually got a decision. He didn't get it for a disqualification. He won the fight. It's set in stone now. He won the fight. So at least he won it, despite the decision of what we all think. He's won the fight. He is the bantamweight champion. He's going to be defending his belt against someone new. And, we're just going to have to go with that. And we're going to have to sort of accept that now and see what happens. But I don't like the matchups that he has in front of him, potentially. If we're talking about like TJ Dillashaw, Dominic Cruz, Corey Sandhagen, I know he's already beat Sandhagen, but that was one of those ones where it's like, yeah, everything just hit perfectly and you got the win. Is that going to happen again? Potentially it could happen again, but if it doesn't, are you prepared then to stand in front of Corey Sandhagen? I don't think he is. Like, we can say that, he stood in front of Jan. Jan's the scariest person in the division. If you can stand in front of him and survive 5 rounds, you can stand in front of everyone. But styles don't make fights, and MMA math never adds up. And me personally, I think if he fights TJ Dillashaw or Corey Sandhagen, he gets slept. I think he gets, they walk through him, I think, if those fights get booked. But yeah, and now I guess with Jan too, he's going to have to earn his way back and potentially get another shot. But it's just a weird fight. And the division's in such a weird place now after this because you've got a guy that's champion that no one thinks is the champion. And even though he's silenced the people now, I don't know. That fight just left me with a bitter taste in my mouth just all around. So, I don't know. I'll have to rewatch it and kind of, I might rewatch it and then see in the first round that Aljamain did enough and won the first round. And if that's the case, cool, I respect the decision. But, if I watch that first round and, it seems that Jan did more, then I'm just going to be pissed because he definitely won 4 and 5 and Aljamain definitely won 1 and 2. So, 2 and 3. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Maybe for next episode, that'll be like the opening point. I'll be like, all right, I rewatch the fight, and I'm either going to be like, cool, or I'm going to be like, fuck this shit, and it shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, it kind of wasn't a decisive sort of finish to the saga, was it? Because it was a split decision, and after the fight as well, Dana White has gone to the press conference and said he thought the judges got it wrong, which kind of muddies the waters even further, right? Because now Petr Yan is kind of the uncrowned champion, and Aljamain Sterling is still this you know, this sort of has this paper belt that you know, people have been bagging him about for the last 12 months. So I feel like you know, maybe the UFC brass should maybe stay out of some of those comments, because it's kind of just, I don't know, like I guess they need to fight a third time now. But you know, obviously he's got TJ Dillashaw. I think Dana White has thrown his support behind the TJ Dillashaw fight, but really it's kind of, you know, they haven't really concluded the Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling saga. And you know, I guess for what it's worth, I sort of felt like Petr Yan probably did enough. In the first round, he kind of like pushed forward a little bit more if you were going to sort of pick it, you know, pick a side. But you know, there's the old boxing adage, you know, they say, you know, if the fight is or the round is close or almost impossible to score, then you sort of you know, the benefit of the doubt goes to the champion, and maybe that's kind of what happened on the night. I don't know if that's even a thing in MMA, but maybe that's sort of
it is
was
when
in
you
the
fight
back
John
of the
Jones.
judge. What's that?
It is a thing when you fight John Jones, 100%.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and like these are largely boxing
Jones.
judges, and these are largely boxing judges as well. So it's like, you know, is that the sort of mentality they bring? Like a lot of these athletic commissions don't really differentiate between MMA and boxing when it comes to, you know, sort of officiating and things like that. So, yeah, who knows? Who knows? It was in, I think the fight was in, where was it? I can't even remember. But
Florida.
Yeah, Florida. There you go. So, yeah. So who knows what. You know, what was sort of happening at cage side there. But I guess, you know, if the second round was a 10-8, then I guess the best Petr Yan could have hoped for, and we know that the judges didn't score it this way, but if it is considered a 10-8, then I guess the best Petr Yan could hope for would be a draw at the end, right?
100%. And if they'd have done that, I think it would have been more well received than the result that we did get, or the decision they did give. If it was given a draw, I think people would, everyone would across the board would have been like, all right, okay, I can kind of see that. You know, those two and three were pretty big rounds to Aljamain, especially number 2. Okay, so yeah, cool. Okay, number 1's close. Aljamain clear cut wins the second. Third round, he you know, he did enough to scrape the third round, and then 4 and 5 clear cut to Yan. Yeah, cool. Let's chalk it up as a draw and then do it again.
Yeah, I guess that would sort of, you know, that would spark the debate as to whether that's a 10-8 round or not. But yeah, for that reason, I didn't mind the decision. I know we have a 10-point must system for MMA, and the fight isn't scored in its entirety. But I don't know. For me, Aljamain Sterling was by far the closest to finishing the fight, so I didn't really mind it too much. I thought he had a vastly improved performance on the last fight, and you know, so I didn't mind it too much.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different fight than the first fight, like 100%. In the first fight, he certainly wasn't able to have the success to get the takedowns and get the control. Like, he got some takedowns, but he didn't have the control. And Yan, from memory, just ragdolled him around like a small child. Like, I think he landed 7 from 7 takedowns in the first fight, and then obviously boxed his face off when he was on the feet. So, yeah, it's a completely different fight, and I feel like if they fight again, it's going to be a completely different fight. But yeah, as a whole, you know, I'm not. I mean, like I said, I have to have another squeeze at it. But on the day, I could kind of see it. I mean, independently from actually like watching it as someone who's into the sport and everything like that. As a punter, I was stoked because I thought I'd throw Aljamain on one of my multis just to, you know, the odds were too good to pass up, and he come good. So yeah, as a punter, I'm stoked. As a fan of the sport and as a fighter, I'm like, what the fuck? But you know, we got to take the good with the bad.
God, have a look at the head bobble on it. The old Lockjaw's had a huge day on the punt on the weekend. So
we had a successful day. As I spoke to you about, when Volk gets back, I'm going to have to do more than shout him a couple of beers, and we have that celebration after my fight in May. Might have to do a bit better than that.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, as you mentioned there, your teammate Alexander Volkanovski did you a favour by finishing the Korean Zombie in the 4th round with punches, and at the end of the day, it was a bit of a one-sided beatdown in the end. But you know, he held out until the 4th round and made you a bit of money. But yeah, first of all, how was the scene at the Volkanovski Hotel? Man,
it was mental. Like, it was packed. It was packed full of people. And they had it on everywhere, like on all their screens and everything. And there's a bunch of different sections. How the Volkanovski set up, like there's There's a bunch of outdoor areas. There's an indoor couple. There's like bars, a few different bars, and there's like little private rooms along the side, like little areas, and there's like a big courtyard, open courtyard area, as well. And we kind of had our own little section for the freestyle team and that, like out there. And they have a big, massive screen out there as well, and then a bunch of other ones. So like, you know, they have the best setup, like a multiple TVs. They got multiple bars. The food's good. You know, so like the atmosphere was crazy. We had a pretty good vibe in our section because obviously we had everyone from freestyle there. We have like all the guys that Volk used to play footy with, like they were obviously there. So like, you know, his other friends, like outside of fighting and stuff like that. So, you know, and they're a good quality bunch of lads. You know how these footy boys are. They love to get stuck in. So, no, it was a crazy atmosphere, and obviously the card being as good as it was, that kind of just built it up from there, you know. And so by the time Volko walked out, the scenes were just insane, you know. He's got that highly recognizable song that comes on, you know. Men at work start playing. He's walking out the Australian flag. People are going off their rocker because, you know, we're all watching it in his hometown. So, you know, it was insane, and we're all pretty hyped. Like, I think most of that fight I was standing on a chair, so I was pretty excited. I definitely couldn't sit still. Yeah, so the atmosphere was insane, and it was cool to see, you know, that people got down to the Volkanovski. There were AV lagers going everywhere. People were you know, getting amongst it, and sort of, you know, they're supporting Volko. So that was really cool to see. And then obviously, you know, the fight was an absolute masterclass. I don't think it could have gone any better, and I don't think anyone's ever been able to pick Zombie apart and break him down and fully take the fight away from someone. Like he might have landed like 2 glancing punches. I don't think he landed a clean shot on Volk from memory from watching the fight, you know. So that speaks volumes as it is, you know. He just absolutely dismantled him.
Absolutely, and yeah. Speaking of the walkouts, there, I was going to mention, you know, Korean Zombie walking out to the Cranberries. Like, I fucking love that song, and it's a, you know, it's a really cool walkout when he walks out to it. But unfortunately, that's about as good as it got for Zombie on the night. It was, you know, he was a bit overmatched in the end, and you know, I think at the end of the day there was a huge sort of speed discrepancy, as the commentators alluded to during the fight, and you could see just the difference in the physicality between the two of them. Like, Volkanovski just looks so just strong and you know, just physically powerful, and Zombie just seems he seems a bit sort of light on. I think you know, maybe the game's gone past him a little bit, and you know, or certainly Alexander Volkanovski's gone past him, although, you know, the elite competition has gone past him, and you know, he just looked more and more dejected after every round in the end, and you know, he was probably too tough for his own good in the end. And actually, one other thing I wanted to mention before I hand over the reins to you, you know, Herb Dean gets a bad rap sometimes. You know, he's had some sort of weird stoppages recently, but what a perfect stoppage in the end it was, really. Like, you know, the doctor gave Zombie the okay. Zombie said he wanted to go out. Herb Dean gave him a chance, and as soon as it got tough in that 4th round, he stepped in while they were standing. He didn't let it get any worse than it needed to. So, yeah, fantastic stoppage and a brilliant performance from Volk in the end. So, yeah, give us your breakdown.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of things. As far as MMA superstitions go, like, people always talk about like the superstitions in MMA. Like, if you go on the Conan O'Brien show before a big fight, you're probably going to lose, and all that sort of stuff. Let's point out the latest one. If you have a dope walkout and you're fighting Alex Volkanovski, you're going to get bashed. Like, Brian Ortega had a sick walkout. I'm on board. I dig the purge mask, lots of stuff. I was hyped as shit. I was like, it's a cool walkout. Got bashed.
Yeah, I was rocked by that.
Got bashed. So maybe don't have a cool walkout against Bol Volk, or you're going to get smashed. I think that's sort of becoming a trend now.
Yeah, just walk out to a generic rap song or something like everyone else does, and just you know. I mean,
it's not going to help you.
Go too hard.
You got to do what you got to do, and then also don't get Henry Cejudo to help you with your preparation for the fight. You're going to get banned. I saw a bunch of stupid shit that fuckwit said in the lead up to this fight, and even on the embedded, he's like, "Oh, if you look at how Alex fights, he obviously doesn't hit hard." Well, guys, Zombie if he hits hard or not.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Zombie had flashbacks to when he was a little boy in Korea. Like, he didn't know what was going on. So, and I can tell you, the dude hits hard. And also,
Yeah, firsthand.
like, before I get into like the detail of the fight, if you're in a fight against a UFC champion and the round starts and the champion of your weight class, who you are now fighting and standing across from, asks you if you are okay and if you want to keep going, it's probably not good for you to be there. Like, you probably shouldn't be there anymore.
And what a good bloke, before you go on with that, what a good bloke Alexander Volkanovski is, asking him if you're okay, and not only accepting the answer, but saying, are you sure? And then when Zombie says, yeah, I'm fine, he's like, okay, guess I'm going to have to light you up again.
That's the thing about him. That's one thing. Another thing about him that people don't know, like, that's just who he is. Like, we'll be in the gym getting stuck in sparring, doing something. If he lands a good shot on someone or something like that, he's just, he'll be like, oh, fuck, are you all right? And you're like I've spoken about before, you're just kind of like, fuck, don't worry about it. Like, let's just keep going. But that's just how he is. This is how he is. Like, from the first second I walked through them doors at Freestyle to right up till now, that's just who he is. You can tell it's not, like, the dude's not doing it for, like, I know you have these moments that stick out in MMA fights and you want to be like, oh, that was a thing that someone did to kind of have like a cool moment. But that just happened organically because that's just how he is and that's just what he's like. Like, he's just a genuinely good bloke.
That's unbelievable awareness as well. Like, when the adrenaline's pumping in the middle of a world title fight, to sort of have that kind of awareness is, that's next level. That's not everyone has that.
Man, I look at that shit when he's fighting and stuff like that's happening, and like I spoke about in the lead up, like, you watch that first fight with Max, and he's like in a world title fight against the dominant champion, and he's talking to him the whole time, and he's talking to Joe in that corner, and he's just interacting. Well, his fight with Chad Mendes when he got taken down, and he's like scooting back to the cage, and he's talking to Joe and everyone, and he's like, no, I'm up, I'm good. Like, I'm calm when I get in there. I'm chill. I know, I hear everything that's going on. Like, I feel fucking like smooth as fuck in there. But I look at him when he's in there, and I'm like, fuck, I can't wait till I get to that point. I hope I get to that point one day. He's like super calm. It's like, what the fuck? Like, are you even fighting in a world title right now? Or are you just kind of just, are you having a sparring session? Because, I mean, that fight looked like a sparring session. But, yeah, well, like, breaking down that fight, I was pretty set on, and in the lead up, like I said, I was pretty set on, I thought Volk was going to put him away in the second round, and he nearly did. Like, it was fucking that close to being stopped in the second round, and then again, it was that close to being stopped in the third. So Zombie just did enough every time to just survive that little bit, so fucking credit to that bloke. He's tough as shit. I can tell you, I would not have wanted to be where he was in that fight. And, I always talk about fighters aren't going to ask to have a fight stopped and be like, be like, oh, okay, I want the fight to be ended. But I'm sure Zombie was sitting there going, fuck, I hope my corner stops this or the doctor stops this, or so I don't have to be at that point where I'm like, fuck, I'm done. But I think what was interesting for me, I know everyone spoke about the speed advantage that Volk had and all that sort of stuff, but what was interesting to me was the amount of times that Volk froze Zombie up with his footwork and his movement and his shifts in distance and stuff like that, where he wasn't necessarily even punching the bloke or kicking him or anything, but Zombie kind of was frozen. You could tell it was like you're playing Call of Duty online and the internet's real shitty and you're fucking just jumping back and forth. That's what's kind of like Zombie just seemed like stuck and frozen without even getting punched in the face. So then when Volk was kicking his legs or was punching him, it was kind of just like, it was just like, it made it even worse. And then it just got worse and worse from there. And I saw a little interview that Volk did on his page, on his own page that he released today, I think it was. And he said, like, he knew from the first jab that he landed on Zombie that, he knew the fight was, he was like, all right, this guy's not going to have anything to offer me. Like, and then just built from there. And that's insane. Like, that's insane fight IQ and understanding of the game to be able to just make that read off the first punch that you land on someone and go, okay, like, I've got this. There's nothing this dude can do. So that's mental. But, as the fight obviously went on, it got worse and worse. And then Volk really started sitting on the punches. He really started digging them in, and he was just, landing everything. Everything that he threw was just landing clean. It was like, like I said about Zombie landing like maybe 2 glancing punches in the fight, I think everything bar like one jab landed flush that Volk threw. Like maybe one jab, like maybe skimmed off the side a little bit, but everything else was flush, was cracking this dude. And yeah, and obviously Volk got takedowns, which a lot of these people in the lead up were like, "Oh, he's not going to take him down because Zombie's got good grappling, blah blah blah. You don't want to be there with him," but and he does, but it's a whole nother game. Like when you get punched in the face, when you've had your bell rung a few times, now you're getting taken down, and Volk's strong as fuck. So, I don't know. Like I don't know where the thought process is that, like, there's this narrative now, and now Cejudo's trying to do this. Like he was saying the same thing. He's like, "Oh, I'll take you down and I'll choke you out." If Brian Ortega couldn't finish Volko with a fully locked in guillotine and fully locked in triangle, how the fuck are you going to finish him with your, like, how are you going to choke him out? Please. Yeah, I don't understand. Like, Volko's not the tallest person, but compared to him, he's fucking Shaquille O'Neal. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, so obviously that fight, that was epic. It was epic. It was crazy to watch, and the fucking atmosphere was insane. Like, when they finally stopped that fight, there was like, there was beer going everywhere. People throwing fucking hands in the air. Chairs being knocked over. I jumped up on the chair. I was hyped as shit. I wanted to do a shoey so bad, but we're in fight camps, can't do that. But I was like, fuck, this is, if ever there was a moment, this is the moment. So to watch the work that he did in the camp, and then to watch him go out there and put on an absolute masterclass like that again is just, I'm going to be stoked for, stoked to see that happening, and be stoked for the guy, because I still think, like we spoke about last time, he's so underrated still. He's so underappreciated. And I'm really hoping that now people are going to start jumping on the train and being like, and like I said, pay attention now. You don't want to kick yourself and be like, oh, I didn't see this happen when it was happening. Like, I can't even tell you how many people I've spoken to that after Kobe Bryant died, went back and started watching some of his highlights and watching some of his games and stuff like that. And were like, what the fuck? I disliked the dude based on, I don't know, whatever the fuck my reasoning was, and didn't just appreciate the athlete and the man that was playing the game of basketball. And now I'm like, fuck, I wish, and like had opportunities. Some people even had opportunities to go watch him play live. Imagine that. You had the opportunity to go watch Kobe Bryant play live, go sit there and watch him, and you didn't do it. Now you haven't, like, Volk is in that same category. You have the opportunity now to watch this dude fight. And now that things are opening up, the world's going back to somewhat normality again. You have the opportunity to go watch this dude fight if you live in these places and see greatness. And if you don't take that, man, you'll be fucking kicking yourself. I'll tell you that now. Fighting's a generational thing in that sense, that we know this is a finite time that you're involved in this sport and in this game. And there's a finite, even smaller time that you're a champion. You get to be a champion in this sport and a reigning champion until you either decide to hang it up, or till, God forbid, someone shows up who's better than you and can take that belt from you, or whatever the case is. But like, so I don't know. I thought, how can you not watch a fight like that and not be like, fuck, I'm all in. I want to see this guy fight every single time, and he deserves all the respect and all the hype and all the appreciation.
Absolutely, and he's starting to be discussed now in that sort of that all-time sort of category, all-time great featherweight champions, and rightfully so. But and it looks like this this matchup might be next. But do you think does he need to beat Max Holloway a third time just to really solidify that, or does he need to go up to lightweight? What do you think he needs to really sort of, for people to fully accept him as one of the great fighters of this generation? Because it seems like he's still not quite over the line, particularly with the American audience.
I think there's always going to be people there that aren't going to let the Max thing go until he fights him again, and then he's got to fight him and again, and then finally maybe people will be like, all right, fuck, we get it, cool, whatever. But like, I don't know. I don't really have an interest in watching him fight Max for a third time. And I think for Max, it doesn't, it's not really a good option to do that, because when you lose, you ain't getting a title shot ever again at featherweight until Volk decides he's done, or, something like that. Like, or Francis Ngannou can make featherweight but still hit like a heavyweight, comes and takes the belt. I don't know.
Yeah,
But like,
he's not getting a fourth
you're
crack,
not getting
is
the
he?
title shot again. You're done in that division. Then you have to move up. And, you know, we saw how that went for Max when he fought Dustin Poirier. You know, he went up a lightweight for Dustin Poirier. I'm not saying that's going to resemble his whole, like, outcome and run if he were to move up to lightweight, but it didn't go well. It did not go well for Max Holloway because Max Holloway is a volume puncher. We all know that. The dude overwhelms people with his pace and his volume, and he's happy to take a bunch of shots, to land a bunch of shots. He's got the most significant strikes in UFC history, but he also absorbs the most significant strikes in UFC history. They go hand in hand. Unfortunately, at lightweight, those dudes hit tremendously harder, and you know
the power was certainly the difference in that Poirier fight, right? Wasn't it?
100%.
So, yeah. So how does then I'll put it to you. How does Volkanovski's style translate to lightweight then with that in mind?
Flawlessly. I feel like that's the move for him next. I feel like he has to go. Yeah, I want to see him go up and go for a second belt, whether that's straight to a title shot or they're like, oh, fuck it, you got to beat one person. But I mean, I think he deserves a straight title shot at lightweight if he wants one. If you're going to give Conor, I know Conor McGregor's a different sort of animal hype-wise. I get it, but like, if you're going to give someone a chance to go up who didn't even defend his belt to go up to the next weight class and, you know, go for a belt, why not? You know, Adesanya defended his belt a couple of times and went up, tried to challenge for light heavyweight belt. Obviously, it didn't work out, but, you know, so why not let Volk do that? Let him fight the winner of Gaethje and Oliveira. I get it. You know, lightweight's a different ball game to featherweight, but he said it himself. He's so far ahead at featherweight, and he's shown that like, why not? Why not let the dude go up to lightweight? You know, I'm confident he's going to go there and do well. He's obviously confident he's going to go there and do well. You know, and it's a win-win because you go up to lightweight, you fight for the belt. You either win the belt, you get a second belt, and now you're a dual champion, or, God forbid, long shot, worst case scenario, you go up to lightweight, it doesn't pan out, whatever. You're still the baddest person in the world at 145 pounds, and no one can take that away from you at all. And, you know, so what's the worst case scenario? You go back down, defend your belt, set the record for title defenses, set the record for most consecutive, like most UFC wins in a row. Like, I think Anderson Silva's got the record for like 16, starting off his tenure in the UFC, 16 wins before he finally lost, or some shit, you know. So there's, you know, it's a win-win, but I think he does really well. Obviously, you know, there's a couple of matchups at lightweight that are interesting stylistically, like, you know, to look at. Obviously, I think Oliveira's one. You know, Oliveira's grappling is next level. He's shown he's a lot more well-rounded now. His striking's ridiculous. But, you know, is that enough for someone who's as well-rounded as Volk and with his fight IQ? I feel like Michael Chandler would be a cool matchup because he is so explosive and he's not like height-wise and shit. He's not like a tall, long, lanky lightweight. Like, he's pretty stocky, pretty explosive. That could be a fun fight, and he's one of those people that just likes to be entertaining. So that could be a fun fight. I still don't see him getting the win, but that's another fun fight. You know, I'm talking like now as like a pure independent fan of the sport, regardless of the fact that dude's my teammate. Yeah, there's some fun fights at lightweight. You know, Poirier's a fun fight. Chandler's a fun fight. Oliveira's a fun fight. Gaethje's a fun fight. The name that I guess if he does go up to lightweight, fights the winner of Gaethje and Oliveira, wins the second belt, the name that everyone's going to throw at him is Islam Makhachev. People are going to be like, that's the dude that could, you know, is the boogeyman matchup or whatever it is. But, you know, I don't want to compare, you know, you're comparing apples and oranges, but if Chad Mendes couldn't control Volk and hold him down, is Islam really going to be able to? I know it's two different people, but, you know, Chad Mendes is a pretty good fucking wrestler. I think people need to understand that. Like, the dude's a really good wrestler. And, yeah, Volk kind of was just like, oh, that's cool that you're a Division I All-American wrestler. Just hold my beer, watch this, and just kind of like put it to bed. So, There's some interesting matchups at lightweight, but outside of Khabib coming back, I don't see anyone at lightweight really. I see some fights that are going to be a bit more competitive, but I don't think that there's anyone that's going to like straight up, like people making it sound like there's going to be people that are going to be straight roadblocks and just stop him from being able to have any success. I don't see that. I see there being some fights that are competitive, like a fight with Charles Oliveira would be competitive, but I still think Volk could beat him.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of competitive fights up there for him, and like we know that as you mentioned there, the lightweight division is absolutely stacked. But I think if Volk is to move up, I think he's past the point of having to prove himself. When he goes up there, I think it has to be a champ versus champ thing. He's sort of gained that respect now as the featherweight champion. I think it'd have to be a champ versus champ thing for my money anyway. But you never know. Yeah,
I mean, that's going to be up to Dana and those people, like what their plan is as well. But at the moment, there's no one really at featherweight outside of, unless people really ask for the Holloway fight or they really lean towards the Holloway fight. At the moment, there's not really anyone that's, I don't know, standing out really to be a contender. And I mean, even the Holloway fight. Oh, okay, cool. Like let's put this scenario out there that people keep claiming that Max Holloway won the second fight. Okay, whatever. Let's say he did, and now they're one apiece, and they're going to fight for a third time. Look at what Rodriguez was able to do. Even though he lost, look what he was able to do to Max by standing. And he's usually a counter fighter, real flashy, does stuff. He just stood his ground and threw, and he fucking cracked Max Holloway a few times and stunned him, and he landed some shit too. If Yair Rodriguez can have that success against the best boxer in the UFC, and Max kind of looked a bit iffy in that fight. I expected him to run through Rodriguez. If we're talking that, Volk's up here, Max is here, and the rest of the division's here, I expected him to run through that dude. He didn't really. I mean, he beat him, but he didn't run through him. He didn't outclass him. As much as people want to say that he did, he didn't, because then he would have finished him. He would have completely picked him apart like he did Calvin Kattar. I just don't think it's in Max's best interest to have a third fight with Volker, to be honest. Like I said, because if you lose, you're out of the division and you got to go up. You definitely can't go down. You're a big boy for featherweight, so. And then, okay, hypothetically, you win the fight somehow. Maybe you get given a decision or like a split decision or some shit, or I don't know. And you win the fight. Well, what are we talking about? Now you have to fight the dude again straight away. A fourth fight. It's fucking, the whole thing would just be a shit show, to be honest. I don't see him being able to find that success and win the belt. But even if you do, it's not like you win the fight. Like, people have this, it's like they have this mentality at the moment that, Max deserves to fight him, and him and Max need to fight again. And then it's like, if Max beats him, then that just disappears. And then it's like, okay, cool, I beat him, and no, Max beat him, and that's it. No, Max beats him. There's a fight again, straight away. They have to fight again.
Do they make a best of 5 then, or what happens?
Man, they got to fight. Then they probably end up having to fight like an NBA 7 series or some shit, 7 fight series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and Volk, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He leveled up. He looked better than he did last time out. So it would be interesting to see him fight Max again and just see if he can sort of win it a third time and win it decisively, because he's even, what is Volk, 33 or 34 now, and he's still getting better. So it would be fun to watch it again from that standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, if they book it, obviously I'm gonna be part of the camp. I'm gonna see him fight him again, and I'm gonna be hyped as shit, and I'm gonna watch him beat him again. But for my money, I don't really want to see that again. I don't see the point. Unless, Volk himself just is like, all right, fuck it, let's book this so I can get this out of the way and done. But like he said, he's earned his place where he's at now. He's in a position where he should be able to move up, so that's what I want to see. Absolutely,
and one thing that everyone wants to see is Fight Talk Down Under episode 11. We'll be back next week. There's a whole lot going on in Aussie combat sports next week, so we'll have all kinds of things. Like we'll be previewing Tyson Pedro's long-awaited return. We've got Arlene Blenko, another one of your teammates, versus Chris Cyborg. There's Zarafa versus Hardman in boxing. We've got Rob Wilkinson and Minnie T. Williams in action in PFL and one championship. So we've got Aussies sprinkled all over the place, and of course we'll have all the details here on Fight Talk Down Under episode 11. And before we wrap up, I will apologise to Lockjaw. For those watching in video form, you will have probably seen me sipping on a whiskey. I realise that's a bit of a dick move doing that in front of a guy who's 3 weeks out from a fight. So, but it was a good time from my end. But hopefully we can share him one after May 7th. But yes, apologies for doing that in your face tonight. But for the viewers and listeners, remember, like and subscribe. YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Fight News Australia. Lockjaw, what do you got coming up?
Yeah, obviously, like we said, fighting May 7th in the Gold Coast. It was my first time in 2 years fighting on the Gold Coast. Obviously, it's no secret. I was based there before I moved down to New South Wales to join Freestyle. So, basically, in my eyes, I'm the hometown boy in this fight. So, everyone that has been asking when I'm fighting in the Gold Coast and Queensland or whatever again, it's happening. Get your tickets. Go do your shit. I'm not going to chase anyone up. I don't never do that shit. So rock into the Gold Coast and come watch Lockjaw do his thing.
I gotta watch it. You never know what might stop you. Here I am, climbing up, feeling great, getting love. Here I go, risk it all, be worth it now, and that's for sure.